Mister Sinister is one of my favorite Marvel villains, especially in regards to the mutant division. To truly understand and appreciate just how twisted this villain is, we need only to look at the multiverse. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda. This is the top 10 alternate versions of Mister Sinister. Who is your favorite X-Men villain? And why is it Mister Sinister? Come on, be real with me. You know you love him. Number 10, Essex. This version of Mister Sinister hails from the Age of Apocalypse reality of Earth 295. AOA, or Age of Apocalypse, was a continuity and reality that was born out of Legion, the son of Charles Xavier, traveling back in time and attempting to eliminate Charles's rival, Magneto. However, Legion instead missed his target, and Charles ended up being the one eliminated instead of Magneto. As a result, Legion eliminated his father and ended up accidentally erasing himself. Here, Essex is an ally to Apocalypse, a somewhat reluctant one though, as he also attempted to take power for himself when he merged together the genes of Jean Grey and Scott Summers in an attempt to create a supremely powerful mutant being, which he hoped to have under his control. Unfortunately for Essex, in attempting to hide this young mutant named Nathaniel Grey from Apocalypse, he lost track of him, and instead, Nate escaped and was found and raised by the Mutant Forge. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to let us know you love us by clicking that like button. Seriously, it's good for you, it's good for me. Number 9, Nathaniel Essex. Technically the original Mister Sinister. This version of Sinister is the OG. Nathaniel Essex is the man Mister Sinister was before he became the cape-loving, mutant gene-obsessed man, mad science geneticist that we have today. How did he get there? Well, initially Nathaniel Essex was just a scientist obsessed with Darwin's theory of evolution. He believed that it was possible for people to dramatically evolve based on certain factors, which he found and, of course, named after himself. The loss of his young son only made him throw himself more into his work, but the academic community did not see or appreciate the value of Essex's findings, believing him to be mad and also quite immoral. And honestly, I can see why they felt that way based on his research. They kicked him out of academia as a result of him not letting up on his beliefs surrounding evolution. He would later run into Apocalypse and decide to become a reluctant ally to the mutant, whose very existence proved his theories were true. Number 8, Apocalypse. One of the weirdest but still super brutal versions of Mister Sinister comes to us from the ultimate continuity and reality of Earth 1610. Sinister has always had his story closely entwined with that of Apocalypse. However, in this comic, he isn't just connected to Apocalypse, he actually becomes Apocalypse. This happens over the course of a few issues after Sinister becomes an enemy to the X-Men, seemingly claiming to be working for Apocalypse, who of course hasn't been seen for years. While some think Sinister is delusional, it's later revealed that he was actually telling the truth, and he eventually transforms straight up into Apocalypse at one point. Number 7, Mother Righteous. Mother Righteous is one of the 4 Sinister clones that replaced Essex after his death. She is known as the clone of Hearts, thanks to the heart-shaped symbol on her forehead. Unlike the other Sinister clones, Mother Righteous is under no illusion that she happens to be the original Mister Sinister. Instead, she rightfully believes and acknowledges that she is one of 4 clones that he created before he died. She is the only one of these clones who is a female, and she happens to have a very thick accent that is akin but not exactly belonging to East London, but sounds similar to that. Rather than stay based in the realm of science in terms of her purpose to figure out how to solve the evolutionary problem of AI and machines becoming the dominant ruling group in the cosmos, she decided to look into other more mystical means of knowledge, which I think of as another layer to her character that makes her even more unique among all the alternate Sinisters that we've had. Normally you'd never expect a Sinister to be a magic user, and she messes with those expectations that we have for Sinister alternates really beautifully. Number 6, Nathaniel Essex. While Mister Sinister becomes Apocalypse in the Earth 1610 reality, this isn't the only version of Nathaniel Essex that exists in this continuity. In fact, there is another that appears 3 issues earlier in Ultimate X-Men issue number 46. Initially known as Nathaniel Essex, this version of the character originally worked for Norman Osborn and was working on creating a super soldier as a bioengineer. Not being allowed to run human trials during his time at Oscorp, he ended up using himself as a test subject. Now, he did succeed in acquiring superpowers, but seemingly at the cost of his sanity, believing that a being known as Lord Apocalypse was attempting to reach out and communicate with him, which, as I said before, a lot of people thought he was pretty crazy for that. He does, of course, also end up being reborn as Apocalypse eventually, which I already talked about in my previous point, but we already know about that version. After Apocalypse is defeated by Phoenix, Nathaniel Essex's human body is revealed to still be within Apocalypse's form, meaning that technically we kind of have like two versions of Nathaniel, the one that becomes Apocalypse and the one that still remains inside himself and just emerges after. Following the events of Ultimatum, he ends up as a somewhat reformed scientist working for Roxxon Corporation. Number 5. Orbis Stellaris. Orbis Stellaris is another of Mr. Sinister's clones. This clone actually has some reason to believe they are the original Sinister, considering they actually do look the most like the original Nathaniel Essex. However, even this clone is still not he. Orbis Stellaris is more obsessed with solving the evolutionary problem of AI and machines conquering the Earth by looking to the stars. This clone is known as the clone of Spades, thanks to the mark on his forehead, and he focuses more on alien life forms in DNA and cosmic computing, believing that through this research he will be the one to solve the evolutionary problem presented to him by the original Essex. Number 4. House of M. Mr. Sinister also had a role to play in the House of M reality and timeline. Here, he is still sporting a super amazing cape and possibly an even more insane pair of gauntlets and an even more wild and extreme collar than ever before. He is very much rocking the metallic look here. Sinister in this reality is focused on playing catch up as the mutant population has defied all of his estimates, growing even bigger than he imagined it would be at this current point in history. Probably because Scarlet Witch willed it to be so, as this was a reality that was created and manipulated by her. Hence why he would have never predicted this happening. In an attempt to catch up, Sinister creates a mutant child who he hopes will one day become the heart, soul, and savior of the entire planet. The child's name? Nathan, of course. Number 3. Dr. Stasis. Dr. Stasis was the first of the 4 clones of Sinister, outside of the clone of Diamonds, aka Mister Sinister, who this list is based around, that we'd come to know. We always thought Mr. Sinister was Nathaniel Essex, but it turns out even he was a clone. And in fact, there were others out there that were actually made at the same time, each representing a different suit in a deck of cards. Dr. Stasis is known as the clone of clubs, marked by the symbol on his forehead. He is determined to solve the evolutionary problem of AI and machines rising to ultimate power above all other species and groups by using human experimentation. While Mr. Sinister focuses more on mutant DNA, Stasis focuses instead on human DNA. He actually even thinks mutants are like kinda gross. He's like, I'm all about humans, baby. Number 2. Baron Sinister. One of my favorite versions of Sinister, especially in terms of his look, but also in terms of his behavior. I always imagined this Sinister very much with my Sinister voice. It's me, Mister Sinister. This version of Sinister is the alternate version who hails from Doctor Doom's smashed up patchwork reality known as Battleworld. Battleworld came to be after the incursions came to a conclusion, with every universe basically smashing into one another in the Marvel multiverse, thereby destroying them all and all of their inhabitants. Doom was the one to save the Marvel multiverse from certain destruction by confronting the Beyonders and ultimately becoming the ruler of this new world, using an insane amount of reality warping power taken from Molecule Man to reform everything and basically like hold it together. Baron Sinister is the version of Sinister he created, who rules over his own domain in God Emperor Doom's Battleworld, which is known as Bar Sinister. Number 1. Mr. Sinister! Mr. Sinister himself. As Nathaniel Essex, and with him the original Mr. Sinister that he became is now long dead and gone. Technically, even Mr. Sinister is an alternate. Although at this point, based on how much we've seen him, now that we know the full retcon history of his other clones' origins, he would be considered the original in terms of just how much he appears in the comics as the main Essex and Sinister, but he isn't. However, yeah, that being said, the Mr. Sinister we know from the comics himself could even be a clone, as it's become unclear how many times Sinister has cloned himself, and even he seems to be uncertain at times if he is the original or if he's a clone, and even then, he's technically a clone of another clone, you know what I mean? It's just clones on clones on clones. That's about it. I'll see you next time, but until then, you stay nerdy, YouTube.